build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Oh, well, they gave me ball, but I can see between to a dusty yard and a long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I dry my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone. I'm sober as...
Hello everybody, welcome to Longbangers. This is episode 142, or 142 if you like it just to be spelled out to you like that, which some folk do. Joined tonight by Jamie and Colin. Jamie, how you doing?
Good, thanks. Good, aye. Yourself?
Aye, decent. You sounded a wee bit apprehensive there, like you weren't sure how to answer.
And I just because I'm just actually getting over, it just shows you the age I am. I went out on Friday to watch a wee bit of the racing, and I'm still feeling a wee bit tender yesterday, so just my powers of recovery are definitely left me now.
I can't do that anyway. I can't deal with a hangover. Colin, what about you? How you doing?
I'm good, and my hangovers are bad as well. I just I get the internal warning now when I'm out saying stop, tells me that I'm going to. So I didn't get that stage. When you're young, you just keep going and then worry about it the next day or the 2 days later. Nah, didn't even now. It's like during the night out. Fucking stop. Watch what you're doing. Then he switch on the spirits. internal voice.
I didn't have one of them. Full throttle.
I can't mind the last time I was absolutely hammered. Like I had a good drink last Sunday watching the cup game. I think we were about 6 pints or something, and then went out for a few more after it. But stopped drinking early enough to not even have a hangover the next day, which was good. Anyway, right. We just got cuffed 3-1 up at Pittodrie. Interesting fact, right, see if you listen to or watch the highlights. You can watch our sports, Sky Sports put them out on Twitter as well. If you turn the sound up, it's either just before we score or just after the cross goes in. You hear a voice shouting, "Go on, Cads!" And that's Josh, who was on last week. He was in it,
Good spot.
I'm sure I heard them shouting a few other things, but you probably don't want me sharing them on the podcast. Anyways, if you hear the "Go on, Cads," that was time. Right, so we'll talk about the game. We'll look at Ryan's red card. Check whether or not discuss whether we've got a disciplinary problem. Ask what is the actual problem with the team now. We'll do the wangers for the bangers for Colin, and then we'll see what else comes up. So, Colin, I'll come to you first. What were your thoughts on the game on Saturday?
Poor, dire, and shite were the words that were coming to my mind. It was just rubbish. It didn't look like scoring. I know we scored, but it didn't look like scoring. It wasn't. I suppose it was a decent ball in Ficadden and the defender got on the end of it, but it was like one of the decent balls in Ficadden that we've kind of been starting to complain about because it wasn't really towards anybody. Melkerson wasn't really involved. Defence didn't look great. Rocky didn't look brilliant. Just shite, just crap. I mean, I know it was 2 penalties for them, but it was just felt like they deserved to win, even though it was 2 penalties. But just rubbish. Just didn't feel like a real backward step after last week.
And Jamie, how about you? I know you didn't see the full game, but what were your thoughts on what you did see?
If ever any manager was needing their first win, it was always going to come against Hibs. Jim Goodwin's first win as Aberdeen manager, you could have nailed that to the mast if Russ didn't get the result there.
Twice this season now, helped Stephen Glass shoot the last time,
Yeah. But I was just, before I had come on had a wee look at the side, and I'm not going to keep using the excuses of our missing players and what have you, but we did start with a midfield, Lewis Stevenson, Joe Newell, Josh Campbell and Dre Wright. Now, that would never be in anybody's book got to be the midfield. I mean, I ken it was a really, really shit day at the office, but that kind of shows the level of despair that we're having to drop down at the midfield. And I'm not really sure who was on the bench, to be fair, but that's who we started with. And I think Rocky is probably getting shown up. Just he likes to defend, but he's and he can do it. But aside from that, I'm not really sure what he offers, to be honest. It's a bad day at the office. I think even out with the the own goal, which, to be fair, it could have went either side of the post. He just moves his leg a wee bit to his left-hand side. He maybe puts it out. A wee bit of fortune there, but did we have any other chances? I can't even think of any.
Jasper had a free kick that just went past the post, and I can't really think of much else apart from that.
We got Joe Lewis out at one point. He was pissing about with the ball, and Jasper took it off him. But I didn't think we got a real shot away for that. You know, it was one of them when the goalie's like pretended to be a footballer in the edge of the box, and I didn't think we got a shot away for that. I think Jasper just took it off him and tried to square it. But that's it. That's where we're scrapping about. Like, we're even thinking, what's the chances for the boys on the bench though? Henderson was on the bench, so it's not exactly. I think Doyle Hayes was on the bench actually as well. I'm sure he was on the bench, but there's no. And Mueller was on the bench. He can play midfield as well.
I don't understand why he's not getting a game. By the way, it baffles me. If you've not got any real attack, I suppose you've started with Jasper Melkerson, but it just, I think he's looked good whenever he's played. He got subbed. He come on as a sub and got subbed again in the Motherwell game. Something not right there.
I think he's maybe just the COVID, maybe because he's just back for that. Maybe couldn't. Maybe not ready to play a game because I had it a month. I had COVID 6 weeks ago. I'm still fucking knackered all the time. Like I feel fine, but I'm fucking like before I got it. I'm telling everyone I've heard that. But before I had COVID, I was exercising, walking the dog. Now I can't be fucked. And it's like just kind of not got the energy that I had 6 weeks ago. But I guess it's hard if you're a professional sportsman. Just with me, I can just lie on the couch.
Yeah. Well, our bench was Hanlon, so it was Mitchell, the goalkeeper, Hanlon, Deutsch, Mueller, Doyle Hayes, Haig, O'Connor, McIntyre, and Henderson.
This is the laddie Haig, Haggy, or what was his fucking name?
Haggy, Ronnie Haggis.
Yeah, they could all. There's plenty of midfield options there, but I thought we left ourselves so weak there, didn't we? We shouldn't. Gogic and Halberg going. One of them should have stayed.
Aye.
The two would have taken Halberg, but it's sort of some buts really, innit?
Gogic was one of the best players last season in the team as well, though. So you could argue that he had a bad game at Motherwell at the start of the season, and that was the end of him, really. But he's kind of the boy that would bulk up the midfield because it feels lightweight. Especially when you're playing two in there and two fullbacks.
I suppose it's grim when you're sort of looking at Gogic to be the one that comes in and improves your midfield, isn't it? Kind of
that's
says
exactly.
A lot about where we're at.
And Halberg was here about 3 seasons and hardly played a game.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's the other option. You know, like to keep somebody that couldn't break into the team to play, or do we bring somebody in who's a limited?
The Jay Wright over Mueller is an interesting one because Maloney's stuck with Jay Wright, and I think he's been all right. Like has been discussed.
Kind of disagree.
He's not been outstanding. Like he had a good game against Celtic, but he's been all right. But I don't get why you bring in a player like Mueller, spend the money that we have on him, or reported to have spent on him, and then they'll play him. He was like our big signing, an American international. No, Kenny Wesley, but neither was Jay Wright. Do you know? I just don't get why you would have him on the bench and persevere with Jay Wright, who's all right. Do you know?
Yeah.
It kind of baffles me a wee bit. The goals we conceded, so the first two we conceded were both penalties. The first one, Rocky gives it away, handball. Jamie, what do you think? Penalty or no penalty?
Well, I'll openly admit that I definitely think I need glasses because I couldn't see the ball coming off his knee. I thought it was a penalty. I know the rule is obviously if it touches my body part and goes off the hand, it's not a penalty, but I honestly couldn't see it. I've rewatched it, rewound it. It obviously does because that's been loads talked about by Maloney himself, but I honestly didn't see it. And then even watching it, I still couldn't think of it. If it does, it's not a penalty, but if I'm watching it and try to rewind it and can't grasp it, it's a difficult one for the referee. But that's not to say that even if VAR come in, we're going to get chances to take that off and no be a penalty. It's just the level, as we've spoken about loads of times, it's woeful. referee's right in front of the plane, can't he see it? So, but yeah, there's Rangers
On that
got a penalty for basically Morelos pushing the guy, and then I think so. Where's the consistency?
So-
Just
So I was about to use an example, which will be contradicted based on what you've just said, of course. Like, but that Dermot Gallagher on Sky Sports today, seen the wee clip, and technically that's VAR. Now he did say it was a Rangers penalty, so that fucks. You could argue it totally devalues everything else. I'm going to say because he just normally agrees with the ref. But the rule is only a penalty if it's only not a penalty if it deflects off yourself onto your hand, whereas it actually deflected off somebody else onto Rocky's hand. I can't remember who it was. So
I thought he was saying it come off Rocky's knee and onto his hand.
That's what I can't see that either in the pictures, but I think
Right,
it comes.
sorry.
They
So
were
we're
saying
getting an agreement now, right? Okay.
Dermot Gallagher saying it came off the other defender. I can't remember who it was. It was in front or just to the side of it. Then it came off him and then Rocky's hand. And Rocky's hand's out. So because his hand's out as well, if his hand was by his side, we'll go away with it. Because his hand's out and it came off somebody else, it's still a penalty. If it came off his own knee and on his hand, it's not a penalty.
I think that's
But
what was to happen, though. But it came off his. But I agree with you. I couldn't see when I watched it. Didn't see that it came off himself and onto his hand. But yeah, something's hard to tell with the ball moving that fast, and the TV pictures aren't always conclusive.
You can't really moan about the ref in that case. If we're sitting here saying we've watched replays yet and we still can't decide, it looked like a penalty on Saturday when I was sitting watching it. I went, oh fuck's sake, what's he stuck his hand out there for? And I've still not actually seen the deflection off his knee to say, I don't know if they've got a different angle on the Y Scout that they use or the GoPros or whatever it is that they've got an angle on, because the angle that BBC or the cameras had at the game didn't clearly show that it came off anybody.
Right.
So, it's annoying, but you'd like to think you got one, you get the one back to even it out at some point in the season.
Aye, but I think with that one, I agree with you. I think you'd give the referee the benefit of the doubt. Like, he's got one look at it, the hand was out. It's hard to tell with a few different views. So, although it's maybe it ends up being a harsh one, I think it's one you can understand being given. The second penalty comes to a free kick given away on the edge of our box. They swing the ball in. I think it was a stupid free kick to give away as well. Kind of like one of these needless fouls. I think it was Campbell brought the ball down. Swinging a free kick. The boy's got a free header off the bar. Butchers cleans him out trying to get to the ball. Penalty and a red card. So this was probably a more controversial one. Colin, I'll come to you first on this one. What were your thoughts on the penalty first and then the red card?
Definitely a penalty. 100% a penalty. I think everybody can argue that. He's got to make that tackle. The boy's about to strike it for 5 yards out. So he's definitely got to do it. I just don't know what the fucking rule is, because if he makes a genuine attempt, that seems to be the words. And it was a genuine attempt at the ball, but then on the other hand, it's a genuine attempt to win a ball he can never win because he's directly behind him. So if he was outside the box making that tackle, he wouldn't make that tackle outside the box because he's directly behind him. You can't tackle something behind. So it's an unachievable objective.
Well, you can. You could try. I suppose it's how I would liken it is you imagine the player's running in on goal. So he's got the start on you, and you're coming behind him, and you make a last ditch. See, like McGregor did against Hearts when in the 3-1 game, which I think he got a yellow card for because he tried to play the ball. He can't win the ball, but he's got to go through the player there, which is what he did. Went through the player, took the ball, penalty, correct decision, and a yellow card, correct decision because he tried. Purchase puts his leg round the boy, cleans him out, but his leg's going for the ball. So like he tries to almost kind of get round him with his foot to play the ball. So it's a foul. It is nigh on impossible to get it, but
the rule does say, because somebody posted the rule and I copied it, I've just been digging it out. The following must be considered: distance between the offence and the goal, so it's really close to the goal. General direction of play, likelihood of keeping or gaining control of the ball. And then location and number of defenders. So I think he's right on 5 yards out, and he's unlikely to be able to get it. I think I don't know. We'll see what the appeal says. Dermot Gallagher chucked it out, but then he generally agrees with the referee anyway.
The likelihood to get the ball part and the distance for goal is in assessing whether or not it's a goal scoring opportunity, like a clear goal scoring opportunity. Mm-hmm. So, and where that would come into play is not so much about the player making the tackle. It's if, so say the ball's, say the ball's played over the top and you've got two players sprinting for it and the keeper's coming out. So the ball's heading towards the goal. Keeper's at 6 yards. The striker's maybe the edge of the 18-yard box and the goalkeeper gets to it first. But as he gets to it, the defender wipes out the attacker and the attacker goes, I was clean through there, but he was never going to get the ball. So the likelihood I'd get the ball was none. It was a foul, but it's not a clear goal scoring opportunity. So it's not so much about whether the defender's going to play the ball. It's whether it's assessing whether that's a goal scoring opportunity.
So the other part says it's obviously a penalty, right? Because it's a foul, and it does mention no possibility to play the ball, etc. As one of the. So that means the offending player must be sent off. So it depends on if they think he had any opportunity to play the ball, and the only way he appeared to be able to win the ball was by taking the boy's legs first. Yeah. So I think it's got to stick as a red. As much as I'd like it to not, I think it will. I think it'll stick as a red.
For you, Jamie?
No.
I obviously this double jeopardy thing. I'm not sure when it kicked in, but if I just see to even make the challenge, you're just giving the referee a decision. So at no point when he's making that challenge is he thinking, I'll not get sent off because of double jeopardy. He's just basically trying to move and play the ball. Right. But when you're given in such a close area next to the goals, basically, the boys are goal scoring opportunities right next to the net, basically. Is I just didn't get that kind of challenge. It just gives the referee a decision to make, and it's likely going to be sent off considering the furor that's surrounding him. But it's the same when players are, outfield players and they jump and they handle the ball and they get a penalty and sent off. I couldn't understand it either. If you take the goal, you have a better chance of coming back into the game with the 11 men on the pitch rather than come with the 10. I just can't get my head around that kind of thing. But
I think he would have got criticised heavy though if he had just let the boy tap it in. But then we would have had.
You would say, well, what was he supposed to do? It's a catch-22. But there was no defender on the line because when the header comes in, the player was on the post. He's dumped it, just went above him. So as the ball drops, he's really the guy that should be tackling. I'm just saying this thing. I'm sure there was somebody in front of the whoever it was. Was it Ramirez?
No, he was offside.
It was McCrory, wasn't it?
Aye, McCrory was the one that was about to tap in. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I don't really understand the rule. There's too many words in the rules to be clear. But it looked like to me, if it was against us, we would always shouting for a red card. And I know we always jump to the defence of our own players, particularly Porteous. So I can see why the anger, but nobody else seems to be like, if you watch that, and I know we moan about other pundits and that, but the folk that didn't give a fuck, like Stephen Warnock, that doing in the Sky Sports studio, the Liverpudlian lassie, I can't mind her name, that does it. They're all laughing that the suggestion we might even appeal it. So it's just us. It's like the Rangers. It's one against Rangers at the start of the season. It's just us that think we're wrong. The referee's wrong. It's nobody else, and it's not even all Hibs fans. If you read the message boards, there's a split there. So there's the folk that just defend it because it's Hibs, I think. And I think
most people are taking. Sorry, Con. I think most people are taking their lead from Maloney as well, because I think most people are going to say that's when I send it off. So then it obviously becomes into how you interpret the guidelines in between double jeopardy and red lines, red cards, yellow cards, sending off, blah blah blah. So it's. I think I agree with what you're saying 100%. That a lot of people are kind of laughing these kind of things off. But if you're taking the lead for your manager, you, to be honest, comes across very knowledgeable about what the rules actually are, then some things have to be questioned, because usually he's quite I was going to say magnanimous, but that's not what I'm looking for. He's just.
I know what you mean. When we spoke to him, he was very defensive of the refs off. Like we never recorded that because we were criticising the refs, and he was like, "No, it's not fair," and like you're the wrong part time, and blah blah blah. But
the one thing I would say, like, see, we talk about the boy Warnock and Dermot Gallagher, and that Dermot Gallagher says goal score opportunity. That's his only. He doesn't discuss has he tried to play the ball or no.
Which suggests he doesn't know the rule, is it, about the double jeopardy?
And I would doubt that Warnock kens it, because I saw him in sports in the match of the day, but he's shite on that. And then on Sports Scene, they were talking about it. I think it's so I'll be honest, I started falling asleep, so my memory of all the analysis is the best.
It was McFadden and Romolo.
I'm sure they said, he's made an attempt to play the ball, but he's gone through the man. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, it's no it's no if you made an attempt for the ball and no fouled the player, you then get because it's no penalty if you didn't foul the player. Do you know, if Pochis had just won the ball, it's no penalty because he's won the fucking ball. But he's fouled the boy. But he's fouled the boy trying to get the ball, which is what the rule is.
Is it that no possibility to play the ball bit the way the rule that we're talking about?
Maybe.
Because he had to go through the back of him to play the ball, and you can't go through the back of somebody.
So I accept that point. I would say if that's where they're going on it, then
that's what I can think. I hope he
gets
off of it. He'll be all right for the semi-final anyway. He'll be obviously well rested up, but we've not got enough defenders as it is because I think it's 3 matches he'll get, or he has got unless we win the appeal. But it doesn't include the semi-final. It'll be the first game after the split. Is the third game.
Aye. So have we got a disciplinary problem at the club at the minute?
Aye. We're bottom of the league, aren't we? We're bottom of the league on red cards. We're top of the league, whatever you want to look at it.
Aye.
So something wrong there. I mean, a lot of them are for stupid, silly things, but that doesn't matter because stupid, silly things like Boyle in the ref's face and Doidge at Ross County and that, they're stupid. McGinn and Hanlon at Livingston, that suggests a disciplinary problem. Just niggling at refs like that, moaning at refs like that, because there's a way to do it. There's a way to be in a ref's ear, and it's no by obviously. I mean, even I guess it's probably brought on a wee bit because McGinn called out the refs after the cup final as well. I think that you know what they're like. They sit in their wee room on a Monday morning or whenever it is they do it, and moan about everybody, and they'll be talking about Pochis and they'll be talking about McGinn and Hibs, and then all the stuff at Motherwell last week because their manager made a deal of it. That's got to their wee gang, their wee clique they'll come after us. But we're falling into the trap though. Like we're letting them.
Mm-hmm. I'm just having a wee look on Pie and Bovril, right? Fouls per card, right? Because we talked about this before. So we're also bottom of the league for that. So Hibs card every 4.7 fouls. We're the lowest. Like we have to foul less than anybody else to get a card. Yeah. And that goes all the way up to Rangers at 6.3 and Celtic at 9.2 per card. But we are Livingston are worse than us for disciplinary.
Are they?
Aye, so if it's 1 point for a yellow and 2 for a red, Livingston are on 86 points, Hibs are on 80, Motherwell are on 78.
That tells you something though, because Motherwell are just a fucking gang.
Just a gang. Aye.
And we're above them in that league.
But I think because everybody says we're soft.
Aye. So maybe we'll try to turn that round, eh? Is that what we're trying to do?
I'm not sure. See, watching the games, I didn't actually look like we're overly physical as well. I'm not a tinfoil hat on kind of thing. I'm just looking back at the games at Seaway with Motherwell just even the other week. Their whole game plan was to boot us up and down the park.
Aye.
So I've never seen us set up like that to go out and be them people like that. I know we've often talked about the battles that Pochis and Morelos often have, but watching that last game at Easter Road, Morelos is jumping into the back of him, elbowing him, going unpunished. It's just I'm not trying. They're niggling at each other, but there's things like I've seen loads worse tackles at Easter Road on players and nothing. St Johnstone, look at the guy. Did he even get the boot for the straight leg? Got a yellow for it.
Yeah, got a yellow.
It's a sending off all day long. Red, the ref's right next to him.
That's crazy. We argued. I'm trying to think of the red cards we've had where we would have thought that didn't warrant a red. So maybe Chonyo in Europe.
Yeah,
that was a harsh one. But again, one you could see why it was given the speed he went in and the reaction for the player. But I think it was a particularly bad tackle. McGregor's was 2 yellows after that. Pochis at Ibrox, well, there was a lot of discussion about that, but I think going back to what you were saying, Colin, about seemed to be only really the Hibs fans that thought it wasn't a red. The rest of the footballing world were all pretty much a stick-on red card. McGinn at Livingston, definite red. Hanlon at Livingston was a definite red. Hanlon, in fact, could have got sent off before that because they know where clean the boy out.
Last man. Aye. I know that's not the rule, but whatever that one is, the one we're talking about, the goal scoring opportunity. Eh?
Yeah.
And then you had the 2 at Ross County, Boyle and Doidge, just ill-disciplined ones after the game.
Yeah.
Doidge was like, was it a foot in the air or something? I can't remember.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking
I
at
think
the thing
there's
here.
not many we can argue about, really. Like, if you look at them,
Nah.
we argued the Poachers one, obviously, and we're arguing the Poachers one again. But and then Poachers got a red for kicking the boy in the Aberdeen game at Christmas as well.
Right enough, a retrospective one.
The folk tried to blame that on the boy grassing on him. You're like, come on, he kicked him.
Yeah, he kicked him. Kind of grass on
Aye.
somebody if he didn't do anything.
And Rocky got one against Dundee.
Oh, aye, that's right. Hands up.
Rocky's was harsh, but again, Maloney thought that was.
Aye,
When
he
we
wasn't
spoke
even.
to him, he was like, he caught up in the nose. So the Aberdeen player pulled Rocky's hair on Saturday running past him. So the wee tug at his hair and pulled him to the ground. Red card?
Not for me, like.
How no? What's the difference between that and what Rocky did to the boy at Dundee?
I didn't think he pulled his hair. I just ran past him and caught it. Like, it touched it. And Rocky made a big meal of it because he's obviously thinking, well, I got sent off for this. So you sent out like a real sort of childish sort of reaction to it, I thought. I got sent off the last time for lifting my hands and he's just run past and touched my hair. You know what I mean? It's like, I just think, I don't think that's a red card.
But I noticed they showed it on Sports, that. Nah, they didn't highlight it. I imagine again, maybe being a bit paranoid, but you think
nothing incident. That's why.
I think it was another. But then I thought
Aye.
Rocky on the boy. Who was it? The boy with the
McGowan,
was it?
Aye.
With the hair.
Or McMullen, maybe.
No, it was McGowan because you seen what McGowan was doing, and he's looking at it and he's looked up. He's got to say, "You're going to get sent off, Ken." Blah blah blah, and then went back, didn't he?
Aye, but there was more. There was a force in it. Like I know he wasn't aiming for it to hit him, but he was aiming to take his hand out. You just can't do it. Maloney said it as well. It's like you can't.
I can. But the point I was going to make was if he hadn't been sent off for it, I don't think that would have been the highlights either.
Nah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think they would have been going and trial by sports scene. Should Rocky have been sent off for that? I think they would have just went fucking nothing in it.
Nobody's disputed that. Like, again,
no.
like we're the only ones talking about dispute.
Just me because I fucking moan about referees all the time. I've played devil's advocate a bit, but to be fair, like I think you can make a case for the red cards anyway. I think you can make a case for all of them being warranted.
Aye, different levels, as you say, as you pointed out. Aye, but they're on the red scale. I don't think any fault of the new orange card that we're bringing out, aren't we?
Who was it brought that out? It was Kenny Miller.
Kenny Miller.
Aye.
Joe Newell's against Santa Coloma was definitely an orange card.
Aye. Right, there's a thread on Hibs, so I was going to ask what the problem is with the team now, right? So why is it no clicking? So I'll get your views on that, and then there's a thread that caused a wee bit of stir on Hibs all night earlier on about Maloney that I want to get your thoughts on as well. And then we'll move on to the wangers for the bangers. So, Jamie, we'll start with you actually. What is going wrong with Hibs now? Why is it no clicking for the team?
I just don't think we've got. I'm not going to say that we've not got the players to fit into the system that Maloney wants to play, because I think that's just far too easy for people just to pick up on. Because I think he's changed the system a couple of times since the first couple of games. You could see that he was trying to play it for the back. He seems today he's got a wee bit of handle on. We can't just keep playing the same way and expect to get good results at it, because obviously there hadn't been. I just think that the personnel that he's got at the moment just aren't clicking together. And then once he sort of gets a wee bit, he's sort of at the defence and it looks good, which wasn't the case on Saturday. Then someone else gets injured, and it's just a bad run of luck. And I'd like to see what happens in the summer, who he kind of recruits and whether he can get it done early and move forward. But at the moment, it's dire to watch, because I think he's just basically trying to get through games with what he's got. And to be honest with you, a lot of the times, a famous thing, you can't polish a shite. So it's the way it goes at the moment, but it's rubbish to watch.
What about you, Carl? What do you think? You agree with that?
Aye, it's tough. Like, I mean, as you say, that midfield and the options for midfield, then that kind of highlights the problem. I think we're not creating anything. Defensively, we seem to be okay, right? Silly mistakes aside, but we seem more solid than we were before he came in. Then we've got a boy in that looked like he could score goals last week. But then this week we created nothing for him. Like I forgot he was playing. He done a couple of things early doors, and I actually forgot about him because I never even seen him anywhere near it. And I'm not. He's a young laddie and learning the game and all that. But we can't over. I'm not going to start saying we should be expecting him to do something every week, right? Because, but he wasn't even involved. But then you look at it and go, why was he not involved? Well, we've not got a midfield.
Mm-hmm.
We've got one player in the midfield, and he's just back for injury. Like we've only got Joe Newell. So we're playing, like, I don't know what Campbell and Dre Wright really bring. Campbell, well, you know what they both bring? Work rate.
Yeah.
But no creativity or goals or anything like that. And then with Lou Stevenson, another in the left midfield or left wing back or whatever it is, and he never lets you down, but he's never been a creative player and he's never been a goal scorer. So we've got Joe Newell, who doesn't score goals either. And that's it. So we're then relying on, like, some young laddies up the front creating stuff for us. The 20-year-old and the 18-year-old, 19, whatever Melkerson is, and that's it. That's what we've got. We're just totally reliant on that, and then we'll bring on Henderson to bulk it up, a guy that's played less than like 15 first-team games in his life. Again, it's in it. So we've got a fairly solid defence, and we've got young laddies up the front that could still be playing under 20s football, and the midfield to back them up. So that's I don't know. Does that answer your question? I don't know.
It does. I think the other thing to factor in is the lack of consistency in selection, especially in defence. I totally agree with you with midfield. I think midfield is a huge problem for us. So I don't think it's particularly good defensively either. So I don't think we do that much. They're that effective protecting the goals. Although we have had more clean sheets since Maloney came in, so maybe doing them a disservice. But definitely offensively, not good enough. But the defence, if you look at last season when we finished third, the defence picked itself every week. So you had Doig on one side, Hanlon and Porteous, and McGinn on the right. And that was your back four virtually every week, I think, wasn't it? Like more or less the same four players across the back. If memory serves, somebody will no doubt tweet in and say it wasn't that, it was a back three or whatever. But fucking, as I remember it, you could pretty much hang your hat on those players if they were available, starting Stevenson for Doig every now and again.
Injuries and suspensions are fucking us up, and we can't stop getting players sent off. Back to the last question.
But this is the point I'm making. Is I think if you've not got that foundation, they say that all great teams are built on a solid defence. But if you've not got a defence that's playing regularly with it, players playing with each other, not like that for anybody with a dirty mind. To play alongside each other consistently, then you lose that fluency. We've not even been able to pin the keeper down for match after match after match. You know, you're swapping between Macy and Dubrovsky. So then when you have that, and then our midfield is constantly chopping and changing, or having to rely on players that aren't good enough for where we want to be, and then you're having to chop and change the strike force, because again, Doig hasn't been fit the whole season, Nisbet's out, Melkerson hasn't been ready, and he's just come in. Mueller, for whatever reason, hasn't landed a starting place, a regular starting place. I think how any team expects to do well like that, you need to have...
It needs to be 8 players that play every week, really.
Aye, at least. I'd say at least that. You won't have like a solid starting 11 unless you've got a squad. Like, it's all right if you're Rangers and Celtic and you've got a squad big enough that you can swap them around without too much impact on it. But
even then, that's when they become inconsistent, though. I mean, they were even talking about, I know it's different altogether, but English football yesterday, the Liverpool game, and they were talking about Roy Keane and Robbie Fowler, and they were talking about how Liverpool need to use their squad because they're on everything now. Yeah. And the boys that didn't normally play need to come in and step up. And they're talking about inconsistency there because of no matter how much money you've got, that'll happen when you start chopping and changing. We're chopping and changing because we have to, because we can't keep fucking 11 players on the pitch most weeks. Well, it feels like that. I know it's not, but it feels like we've always got somebody suspended.
Aye, suspended or broken.
On top of the injuries.
Right, thread on Hibs.net, and I'll just give you the thread title because the thread title sort of tells you.
I think I know what one you're going to say because I was going to add it into the
bangers
for the bangers. Is it called? He has 3 games.
Yeah.
To save himself.
Yeah. So I'll not go into the poster. I'll name the poster because there's no sent in. It's no fair to do that. But just the line: 3 games to save his Hibs career. The 3 games being Dundee United, and then the 2 derbies.
Yeah.
Fair or unfair, or what do you think? Jamie, come to you first on it.
Unfair. But this seems to be a consistent theme, with more or less the same kind of jerk reaction that most managers have had over the last decade. It's just a run of results. People aren't happy with the type of football. People aren't happy with this, that, and the other. Only's just come in January. How can you even be contemplating sacking him? This doesn't make any sense. You've got to at least give him a run, a good summer window, and then the season to see how we go. It's just 3 seasons to say what? We're not going to get relegated. Touch wood. But we're in the semi-final of a cup. We could still finish 4th. What is the knee-jerk reaction? I didn't understand what people are wanting. So if you sack Maloney, if we get beat from Hearts in the semi-final, hypothetically speaking, then what? Then another guy comes in, and then we have a bad run of 6 games because people are injured or whatever. Sack him too. Where does it end? This doesn't make any sense. This knee-jerk reaction. Would you sack anybody else for these kind of things? I mean, it's just you've just got to take a fucking.
Come back to the Shaggy bit.
It's been a while. I just can't understand people's train of thoughts, because before Jack Ross got sacked, it was people aren't coming to Easter Road because of the style of football. Now it's the same style of football. Well, which is it? Because it's 2 separate managers. So I just people need to. I wish there was no social media. If I'm going to be honest, it's I think that's the death knell for pretty much the most football players and managers.
Yeah.
You Colin?
It's funny because I'd seen that thread earlier, and my wife was having a look at Hibs done it earlier on her phone as well, and she said to me, I didn't even know what thread she was reading, but I guessed it. She went, "Hibs fans only now care about games against Hearts." And that was because that's basically what it comes down to. Because that's basically that's the main reason Jack Ross folk made up stuff about the style of football and all that shit. It's because he lost a derby, 2 derbies, one before lockdown, and then the semi-final and penalties. Extra time, sorry. Well, effectively penalty sudden death, fucking extra time. And he lost A2. And the St Johnstone stuff were just the final nails, but the folk were already waiting on something else coming for that. And as soon as he got a bad run, and then the issue on the back of that is, right, so it was he got sacked after 1 win in 11 or something, and only finishing 3rd and no winning the cups. And then you get the new guy in. And we said this at the time, you get the new guy in. So everybody that wasn't wanting him sacked, Jack Ross, were just going to be waiting until there were similar stats to moan about here. So what they're saying is, well, if he doesn't win the derbies or derby, then he's only won 1 in 11 and he's not won the derby, so Maloney should be out because that's why we sacked Jack Ross. And it's just like some kind of false equivalence of some sort that that they're trying to do it. But it's like, and that's what social media's problem is, isn't it? It's like folk live in an echo chamber and they just hear all the opinions of what hear because they just block folk that disagree with them. And all of that, so they didn't get a sort of rounded view of actually the whole fucking thing. They just hear what they hear and hear all everybody else saying the same stuff, and they're like, "Well, I'm fucking right then," because they're all saying it. No, there's fucking hundreds and thousands that are saying the same thing. There's no mates, you and fucking 5-10 of yous that are sitting saying that. If you're in the pub saying that, folk will be going, "You're talking a lot of shite," but you can't block somebody in a pub. So I think. But to answer the question, I think if he loses the 2 derbies, there'll be folk shouting for him to get sacked, and he'll have to work really hard to turn that round. And if he can, because folk didn't forget it, folk didn't forgive it, because there's fucking Hibs fans are shit scared against slagged off Hearts fans.
I think that was the worry for me when I saw it, because you might have the conversations went with Jack, and there was lots of folk who were still in favour of giving Jack Ross more time. But what was like unarguable was that there was a split in the support, and that some folk were adamant that he had to go, and then other folk were adamant that he had to stay. But that wasn't a healthy split, because the way that things go, everyone's polarised now. There is no middle ground. Like nobody sits in the middle ground anymore.
You didn't hear from them.
Or
And
you
the other
didn't hear
ones
from
are,
him.
it's like
Yeah.
you're floating voters in the referendum. You know what I mean? It's
Aye.
like, it's the same with the yes, no stuff. You see it. And
Aye.
there's loads of folk going, I'm not fucking sure. In the middle, and they're the ones that actually swing the vote. But
Exactly the same thing's going to happen. You can see it already. You can see it coming down the line because you've got a thread like that. Three games. People are already saying on there, folk will not accept him losing the two derbies. Like they're preempting it and sort of already speaking for other people to say this is going to be the mood and the support.
And if he wins the derby, the first one, that thread will get cast back up to the top. And then if he loses the next one, it'll be cast back. It'll just fucking bounce back and forward through next season. It'll get dragged up at some point. If we get put out the cup early for once, like, you know, it'll be out both. Can he win big games or whatever fucking nonsense gets made up this time?
All you can do is
it's just folk try to prove their point of views right. That's what it is. It's like,
Spot on.
all you can do. Really
I didn't ever go on Hibs.net for that reasons.
But Twitter, and that's the same, eh? It's like it comes for their too. Like my brother-in-law says, I didn't go on Hibs.net for that reason. I'm like, but you're on Twitter. Twitter's just as fucking bad, if not worse, because nobody moderates the fucking thing. So it's even fucking worse. It's like fucking hell.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Hibs.net. Obviously, there's an interest there anyway, right? But I guess it's a good place to talk about Hibs. The bounce is good as well. There's strong opinions folk feel about the club and they discuss them, and I think it's all right. But like you say, Colin, it's the echo chamber now, and that polarised view, and everybody can just kind of go and take a step back and say,
I found it. You can't make a point. I'm sorry if I've butt over you, what you're going to say, but you can't ever take point with somebody and say, all right, I hear what you're saying, but what about all this stuff? Oh, and they go, oh, aye, I never thought about that. Or that, like we've done earlier on with the fucking penalty stuff,
the red card
stuff, right? But what's the rule says that? Aye, so it does, right? Nobody does that. They just go, you're talking shite. Oh, you're a fucking you're a Hertz fan if you didn't agree with me. Like, what the fuck? Like, I just got a different point of view. I'm allowed to have a different point of view. I'm coming at it with a different. I might not even agree fully with a point of view. It's just like I'm asking a question, like devil's advocate. You're absolutely fucking hammered for it. It's mad. It's mental how folks' minds work. And it's not just the message boards, but I did see that thread and I thought that myself, oh, for fuck's sake, I saw it this morning, I've not even read it all. Like I read the first few this morning and I went, right,
so playing devil's advocate, what you've both just said there then, so at what stage would the fans be happy? Because you're not going to win every game.
I'm never going to be happy.
Well, so the thing is, if he wins the two right, in all honesty, if he wins two derbies, especially if they're back-to-back, that buys him a lot of credit, doesn't it? Like, I mean, you can impact it has when you lose a derby, it's shite. If you win one, it's brilliant. If he goes in, wins those two, takes us to a Scottish Cup final, there's a bit of credit because he's playing Rangers with Celtic in the final, and nobody expects us to beat. If it's Rangers, folk might expect them to win, right? But anybody kind of sensible would be going, we're massive underdogs. But to get to the final in those circumstances, when it's no St Johnstone, I think most folk would accept that, and then we'd be top six. I think if we beat Hearts on the last day before the split. So if he gets top six, given the season we've had, it'd be 2 cup finals we'd been in this season, albeit one was under Jack Ross. I think that folk would take that. They're kind of whether they'd be happy. I think they'd take it.
No. And we lose the derby after the split and we lose the cup final and that's all back to fucking square one. Right? And it's all, well, we'll need to wait and see the first derby next season, see how things are.
Even if you got, let's just say we've got a win at Tynecastle and get beat in the semis, it'll be like, or get a draw and win, and then some folk will still be back in. It's just draw, win, didn't make the top six because it wasn't enough points. Still not happy. And
I'm not saying I'm not going to be happy. Like I'm not going to be happy if we lose both derbies, but I think you can start. Like I said when Jack Ross got sacked, I don't know if it was just me and John that was on, or if you were on as well, Matthew, but I'm going to just stop backing the manager because they're only here for 18 months. Like, so I'm not getting drawn into like all that stuff, but you can't just sack somebody like that quick into the job, can you? Like with the, because I know like, well, the argument for Jack Ross was, well, all these injuries and shite transfer window. And the folk went, well, you can't look, he should do better what he's got. Well, I assume that would apply here as well then. So if he does lose both derbies and we didn't make top six, and we're obviously out of the cup, and we've won one in fucking 15 or whatever it is, by that time, folk will be calling for it. But I don't know. I don't think you can't build a long. You can't build. I don't know why we keep talking about planning for the long term and all that. We can't, because we're not going to have a manager here long enough.
The only way you could do that is what they're doing with the youth team, the development team. That is probably as long term plan as we could get at the minute.
Until a manager comes in and goes, I'm not playing anybody for the youth team, and then that's that fucked for another 2 years till he gets sacked. It's.
But just if you even look at the situation along the road in Glasgow, Ken, Postecoglou didn't start off well, and they weren't unhappy with him, wanted him out, blah blah. Now look at him, and it was the same with Gerrard. Ken, like he couldn't get a run a game, or certainly to look like he was going to win anything. And then the thing, Ken, you've got to build something. It doesn't happen overnight, and you've got to have the right players, the right contacts, and what have you. It just blows my mind that people just are too quick to go, just sack him.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
I know. And it's like football manager stuff, You would just resign. I'll just resign for that job and I'll fucking control it, delete and start again.
Aye. Hey, Colin, you're going to give us some wangers for the bangers.
Yes, let's do that. So I've got 4, but I'll give you a choice of 3 and I'll do the last section last. The section I've decided is last.
All right, it's going to be that this week, is it?
Aye. So reaction to the performance, the midfield, and I've got some questions for the panel. What would you like first, Jamie?
Reactions.
Right, so Bruce, Mark McKenzie, McCann C, Paul Matthews, Andrew McBee, Ricky, Matthew McMahon said stuff like, it was a good 45 minutes last week against 10 men. Football's been torture to watch in 2022, big summer ahead. That was one of the worst games I've ever seen. Does Lewis Ferguson have the most punchable face in the cinch? One of the worst performances this season. So poor today, I can't be arsed. 2 shite teams that played out that spectacle today. Aberdeen marginally better. No pass marks, that was shite. 3-1, and I still was half asleep through it. I don't know if that even makes sense, but that's what they said. So everybody thought it was shite. Does Lewis Ferguson though have the most punchable face in the cinch? I'm not convinced.
Nah, for as long as Morelos is in the league.
McGowan's definitely got one of them faces on it.
And it's Ferguson's mannerism that pisses me off rather than his face. You know what I mean? It's his sort of cocky sort of... Because he's quite lucky he's not had the sort of... the treatment Porteous has had for the media, really, based on the way he carries himself, I think.
Why would he get that treatment considering of his heritage? He'd never get that treatment.
No. Nielsen tried it. Nielsen called him a cheating that the other week, but that didn't even stick here. Nielsen, he dived the Tynecastle. Craig Gordon saved the penalty.
Right.
And Nielsen came out. Nielsen slaughtered him after it. He said that
he did dive.
He cheated. He dived and all the rest of it. Yeah. No, a bit of deep about it.
And I'm reading the paper today. I was reading the Times this morning, and it said it was Ferguson was getting quoted, and he was saying that he was at the ref for a red card, just like what Porteous got criticised for last week for hounding the ref. But it was like, it was quite funny though, because he was saying Porteous was in his ear at the penalty, saying Dabrowski's a goalie, like saves loads of penalties, and so put it in the middle, obviously, because that's what you do when you've got a dodgy one. When you've had he's missed one recently. Oh, he missed the one against the Hearts. So it's like he's even to be taking the penalty again, because normally you would pass it on to somebody else. Just stand still, because they're always going to smash it down the middle in that case. But he just ran past them saying, he's maybe good at penalty sort of thing, but didn't save that one. But they were just getting a bit each other, a bit noising each other up, and he wasn't criticising Porteous. He says, I've been in his company. He's just trying to put me off. But it's interesting anyway that he can say that kind of stuff, that whereas others aren't allowed.
Maybe diving, the wee winger that Aberdeen had fair enjoyed a wee roll about the ground there.
Yeah, before he scored that fucking goal to you, he could have
had.
Do you think the goalie could have done better with that goal? Do you think Macy would have got the criticism for it?
I don't think either goalkeeper would have got highlighted for it.
No, I don't think either goalie would have saved it, but I think one of them might have got Telty's jumping out of the way or something.
Maybe he would have saved it with his feet.
Because he's that tall, he can save fucking everything. I was listening to that Terrace podcast the other day. They put Macy in at number 11 on the goalkeepers list out of the 12 in the league, and you're like, fucking hell!
That's fucking mental. That it really is mental.
It was the two Hearts boys, Fowler and the boy that can't speak right. You know that one. And fucking hell, it was like, I'm going, what? I can't even remember who the one below. It was Laidlaw was below him. That was the only one. Laidlaw for Ross County. Anyway, right, next one. Midfield. We'll go with midfield. So Cammy, Aldo and Captain Porto said, need to get more players forward in the box. Seems like there's only 2 in the penalty area when we go forward. We're also slow at getting forward. We're too lightweight in the middle of the park. Thoughts on Ray Wright? And is there a future for Scott Allen? We get asked that every week, yeah.
No future for Scott Allen, I think.
He wasn't even on the bench.
Shit.
So.
Nah. So the thing about getting forward is you've got to have the players to get forward and not defensively minded. So as I said earlier on, Stevenson, Newell, Campbell.
It was Cadden was the wing back, wasn't he? Jay Wright was even a wee bit further forward, so it tells you more. You're thinking he was deeper than that. He was actually one of the front 3 because it was Cadden who was on the right wing back.
So when I say Drake, because he's played that position before, he's just behind the front 2. It's not his position, I don't think. Even though, as I say, he's not done anything to say he's been really bad over the last few games. Nothing spectacular, right enough, but he's not done anything bad. But I sort of thought that was the space Henderson was supposed to be able to fill. And if Mueller's not getting in because Cadden is playing that right wing back, how can he not just go on to the left and see how we get on? Because you've played players who are predominantly right-footed on the left before, or vice versa. So I think he is right. We do need to get more players forward and attacking threat, and we're just not doing that. We just seem to be trying and not to concede and see what we can pick out. Whereas even just say under Jack Ross, for instance, that he set up like that to hit on the break, so he had some pace to get out. Obviously, we've lost Boyle in that kind of area, but we just didn't seem to have any kind of outlet. Jasper is probably the only real outlet for that kind of thing.
Because Mitchell's not available either, so that'd be another one. When
is he back? Does anybody know?
No.
Before the end of the season, they initially thought he was going to be out for the season, but I think it wasn't as bad as they initially thought. I see when we play a team like Aberdeen who were physical without being dirty. Like I didn't think Aberdeen were dirty against us necessarily, but the midfield were quick. Like they never gave us a minute's peace, and they were physical without being dirty, and they were quite fast as well. And we just struggled with that. We just didn't have the players to kind of compete, and we got overrun. And then you're looking at a midfield that's not contributing defensively or in an attacking sense. It was just shite. That's where we lost the game, I think. And albeit we gave away 2 penalties, but I think the control of the game was lost because the midfield just didn't compete.
So there's been calls, right? I read on, that was probably the message boards, to get 2 up front again. Now, obviously we've got 3 technically up front, but by maybe playing 2 up front, you could bulk up the midfield. But then is the issue that we've not got anybody to bulk it up with. Yeah. So we could play 2 up front, Doidge and Melkerson. Who's the extra midfielder? Because we've not got anybody, because we let Gogic and Halberg go. So unless you play Doyle Hayes, Newell and Campbell in the middle of the park.
Yeah, which you could do if you've got the attack coming through the sides, and you'd get away with that midfield. Yeah. But I think like Doyle Hayes, Newell and Henderson is probably the midfield that I would go with for what we've got available just now. Uh-huh. And then you're looking, if it was me, I'd probably go Cadden, Jasper and Melkerson as your front three. Melkerson in the middle, obviously, and then Mueller and Jasper either side of him.
And wing backs, yeah.
Aye.
But because the formation's never been changed. There's no change in the formation, so there's no point, I don't think, even discussing that. This is the formation, and we'll fit players into that formation rather than who have we got available. We'll pick
but then get the ball into the box enough anyway. Two up front would just be 2 less players getting near a ball, or one more player not getting near the ball, I should say.
Yeah.
Right, questions for the panel, Colin? Is it?
Got some questions, aye. So these are from Connor, Andrew Brown, Parmaham 2, Ross, St Christopher, and Captain Porto again. So one of the questions was how are we still 4th? That's been answered because we're 5th. But how are we still 5th? Why are our fans such drama queens when we lose? Probably touched on some of that already, but or have we? Maybe we've not. Maybe we've not actually. Can leave that question in.
Yeah, right. I think all football fans are drama queens when we lose to an extent. I think that's necessarily a Hibs thing, right?
Yeah.
And for all that we'll come on and like and defend to a point, or we're trying to be objective. See, when you watch a game like that and it's shite, and it's not the first time we've watched a shite game like that. We've been shite against Livingston, we've been shite against fucking 45 minutes against Motherwell, we've been shite against fucking Ross County. I mean, you can list fucking tons of games where we've been shite and no look like scoring. I totally get why folk would go, that's fucking shite, and have a wee hissy fit about it. Because football's one of the things that you kind of get away with having a hissy fit about it, because it's ultimately not that important. So I think if we're more drama queenie than any other sport.
Drama queen's maybe an unfair word. That was what the person, I can't remember which one it was, but Andrew Brown, I think, maybe sent in. But is it loss of perspective then? Because last week we were raving about how good we were. Oh, look at these two up front. That goes like Archibald's. That lad, he's got to score. He's better than Haaland. We'll write a song about him. Like Harry put a song out about him. Right, all that. Brilliant.
A good song as well, by the way.
Aye. So I'm not but then this week, it's like fucking he's getting sacked if we didn't win the next two games and that. And it's like
this is the problem with social media. So I know people that do this, and it annoys the shit at me, is that they'll go, blah, 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 this is fucking useless, blah, blah, and literally the next game came, that was brilliant, honestly, the best thing I've ever seen. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? It can't be two separate things. It's, you know what I mean? There's no in between. It's either shite or it's brilliant.
You see it better now, and we'll definitely have been guilty about this as well on the podcast, when we review a game. So, say you take one of the games where it's been 0-0 and we've no like scoring. You win that game 1-0. See, you maybe score like 3 minutes for the end, and everyone goes away buzzing because you've had a late winner. When you get back and you're talking about it because you've won, you're like, oh, that player was great. That player was great. Oh, we were fucking solid. We controlled the game. And you forget you had 87 minutes, shite, and then you scored the goal because you went home happy. You see it as well. Like you can read a match thread on .net on the bounce, or you follow the comments on Twitter. And folk will be moaning, and something good happens. It's like, yes, we're all party time. We're in the semi-finals or whatever. And the same, the folk will talk about how good we're playing. We're doing well. We're just not taking the chance away. You can see the goal, and then it's that shite, they're shite, that person's shite. We're never going to win another game. We're never going to score another goal. Blah, blah, blah. It just changes like during games, not even just like fucking game. During the game. Aye.
Yeah.
Opening your mouth and let your belly rumble, but it's just putting it in where everybody else can read it.
That's what football's all about. That's the fun part of football, isn't it? That's why we love it.
But using words like drama queens that helps polarise it even more, doesn't it? Because then that's when you get the bedwetter and fucking happy clapper and all that shit as well.
Right.
Right, so there's a couple of ones related here that realistically the season comes down to 2 games at Hampden, and that Hibs team playing like that get horsed by Hearts. Thoughts on that? I take the 2 games at Hampden. We're assuming we're winning the first one of them.
Aye. So,
but what do you think?
I gave it Hampden. Who go either way?
To be honest, I think we'll get a result against Dundee United and get in the top 6, because if you don't, your season's over anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's at least you've got something to play for if you're going to try and get into Europe.
Well, I don't want to finish bottom 6 now, I'm not writing the season off, but see if we were to finish bottom 6 but win the cup, do we not steal Hearts' European place for the best European place?
We do, which would almost be worth it. It'd almost be worth the bottom 6.
Finishing 7th and taking fucking the Europa League place, group place. Because the cup winners get, Mincy Johnston done to us last year.
Aye.
I don't know how that works this year, because
that's what would happen.
Cup winners get the best European place normally.
Aye.
Okay.
Well, other than the Champions League places.
But I think, I don't know if you're the runner-up of the cup, or is it if you...
No, you only get if you're a winner. If you win it, if you're runner-up. If we finish 7th and runner-up of the cup, we wouldn't get European. 5th place in the league would then get it.
Is that even if Rangers and Celtic win the league? Can it win the league?
Aye, Rangers and Celtic. Because if we were runner-up, it'd have to be Rangers and Celtic to beat us, and they'll both have the Champions League places.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Runners-up get rewarded with a European place anymore.
Colin, that rings a bell with me, I know, but I'm not unsure.
You could be right.
A few years ago.
Aye, you could be right. Somebody can text us.
Because you're rewarding failure, aren't you? By that. So,
So it's only if you win the cup then you get into Europe.
I think so. And if
okay.
you win the cup, you get the best European place outside the Champions League spots. So you actually Hearts would finish third, but have to qualify in the trades holidays, whereas we'd be jumping into the group stages in September.
Right. Okay.
So that would be worth it for all the grumbling that would happen about being bottom six to win the cup. I get on the 21st of May again and fucking dump them into the qualifiers. But yeah, but that Hibs team playing like this get horsed by Hearts. What do you think? And also one worried that this is going to be a horrific end to the season. That's just somebody worrying. But what's your thoughts on that?
So I think the 2 games against Hearts so far we've had nothing between it, and they've gone into both of those as heavy favourites. Maybe not the first one actually, but the second one. Yeah. They came East Road thinking they just had to turn up.
Well, they were morally top, I think, at the time when we played them.
Morally top, right? Actually, morally top. And then we could have beat them, they could have beat us. I mean, both the games, it's been the goalkeepers that have really been the difference between, or stopped there being a difference between the teams. So I didn't see why it'd be any different. Hampden, I think, could be a tight game. It could go either way, but I wouldn't write us off.
Yeah,
I'm exactly the same. But I think it's if I'm going to be honest with you, the way I thought it was going to go is I think it'll be honours evens in the game. I think they'll probably beat us at Tynecastle, and I actually do think they could probably sneak it at Hampden. But I don't know if that's just my what I would prefer to see. But if you could get both wins, it'd be absolutely tremendous. But whenever I've done that,
2 wins in a week like that. 2 wins in a week and 2 derbies in a week. Has Hibs ever won fucking 2 derbies in a row in recent times? Never mind 2 in a week.
I know.
So I know we have because I think we did recently. But it feels like there's usually big gaps between them to win 2 in a week. And last one on this section, what do you make of Melkerson? That's just the question.
I like him. I think his movement's good. Even when he come on against St Johnstone, I thought he looked good, looked dangerous, running into the right areas. And that was kind of cemented against Motherwell for me. I didn't see a lot of him on Saturday, as we've discussed, but so I can't tell you if it was just a lack of service or whether he wasn't on it either. But certainly out of the St Johnstone and Motherwell game, I thought he's looked very sharp, very good, very mobile, and knows where the net is. Good touch for the second goal at Motherwell. Good running into the space for the first one too.
Yeah, let's say his finishes against Motherwell were terrific. I mean, top class finishing. Did nothing on Saturday. He's 19 and he's had 2 games. So you couldn't say he was outstanding. You couldn't say he was terrible. It's like jury's out kind of thing, isn't it? Like you can't. There's not enough evidence to base it.
I just think he looks enthusiastic and good attitude, and he's shown he can score good goals. But obviously, we look for consistency, don't we? And young players sometimes struggle with that. There's the last sections like I've called other, but it's kind of Scottish Cup related. I don't know how much you want to go into it, but Keith Robertson, Mel Clements, Paul, and Captain Porto again. One's asked, "Who's your penalty taker?" But then that ties into the next question, which is 5 penalties in order for the Scottish Cup semi.
Melkerson. He's got the confidence. I think he's got the confidence to do it. So, I would put it. I'll give you my 5, and then Jamie, you can give your 5 penalty takers. So Melkerson, Jasper, Newell, Doyle Hayes, Porteous. That's my 5.
In that order.
Aye. Jamie.
I'm just having.
I'm not convinced. I've got I'd written this down, but Melkerson I had down as number 1 as well, and Jasper is 2. I had Porteous as 3, Henderson is 4, and I had Newell or Cadden as 5.
That's a good show, by the way. I think he's had a good penalty.
Yeah, I've not seen Newell hitting many shots, so I'm not convinced. And I always think a left footer. I just think he's left-footed, Joe Newell. I always think they look a bit awkward taking a penalty. And I know John Collins scored one with his left foot and all that, but I always feel less confident with a left footer.
Funny.
So in no particular order, I would have Jasper, Melkerson, Porto, Josh Campbell, did we not have penalties recently? I thought his penalty was quite good. I'm making this up.
Can't remember.
Fine.
Josh Campbell and Tav Doyle Hayes.
Would you? Aye.
Aye. Well, he's have to take his route outside the box.
Give him the ball,
That's only-
somebody
Just to
bounced
give the
it.
goalie a chance.
Aye, that's only stipulation.
Yeah. And here's another question here, but would Nisbet play in a fully fit Hibs 11?
Yes,
Yes.
for me anyway.
He does, doesn't he? Because Melkerson just goes to one of the wide places.
Aye.
I'd play the two of them.
Aye, but that's what I mean. Aye, you just play him in one of the front three, and Nisbet would be the main man through. When we spoke to Maloney was like, it was pretty clear that he felt Nisbet was his number 9.
Aye.
There was no doubt about it.
I didn't get that Nisbet has just become a bad player. Just overnight, obviously, but he's just not.
You could argue that performance that Melkerson had on Saturday was just similar to some of the performances Nisbet's had, if no worse, this season.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And we're not writing Melkerson off.
It comes into the service. I think the problem is in midfield. If we sort of midfield, I think the strikers all perform better.
Yeah. That's pretty much it, because the other one there's a bit of predictions for the Scottish Cup. It's too early yet. I think we wait near the time, and we'll cover that after the next derby.
Well, that'll do.
We were talking about the missing midfielders, just actually looking there, which is the thing. It's only McGuinness and Mitchell. The two missing midfielders, that's it. It's mental. Doyle Hayes was on the bench. Scott Allen obviously didn't play, but Ewan Henderson was on the bench.
Yeah, I know, it's a worry, and I think letting Gogic or Halberg go is a mistake. Letting both of them.
That's crazy.
Halberg
Just
was
looking
a
at that.
contract to the end of the season, and we gave him to a team in the same league as us. Like, it's just, I think I was never that sold on him. Like, I mean, he never really done anything for me. He scored a couple of goals, but I always felt like it was a consolation goal he scored. But at least he got there to score a goal, whether we were already comfortably beat or no. But the Gogic gives you a bit like solidity.
But you've already got too many sort of holding midfielders.
Aye.
I would have definitely kept Halberg.
So Halberg might have been the option for that reason. Aye. Yep. It would just be another option, wouldn't it? You would say, "Oh, we'll play three. We'll play Halberg, Newell, and Doyle Hayes, and take
Plus
Campbell."
he has a bit of height.
Yeah.
We've become the anti-home mob again.
See the Campbell ones. Like, I'm not slagging the laddie off, right? And I say laddie, he's 22 soon, but it's mad that he's just got called up to the Scotland under 21s for the first time. He's 22 this year.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point? What's the point?
Easy. Glad he did though. Good
for him. Good for him. Hope he gets a cap. But it's like, what are you doing? The Scotland manager, like, what are you thinking? Like, picking an under 21 team and you pick somebody that's like 22. Like, you're not going to get longevity out of him, are you? Like, it's going to be a play till fucking September or something.
Getting experience head in the squad.
It'll be like 19-year-olds there with 10 caps more than him. Fucking mental.
All right, that's about us for the night. Jamie, thanks for coming on. Colin, thanks again for coming on, as always. We'll be back on Thursday with Shortbangers, so get your questions in for that just on Twitter as normal, at Longbangers, or you can email us at longbangers@gmail.com if you prefer to do that sort of thing. In the meantime, thanks very much for listening. We'll catch you later.
Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee.